Let's get into my spray foam monster head, shall we? Took that can of spray foam, and in about 10 minutes I created that contraption. Nails for teeth, 2 rattle can tops for eyeballs. Then I took it outside, and I probably put about 3 coats of primer on this thing. A lot of nooks, cracks, crevices, and crannies I had to cover, but once I got the primer all on, came back through with 2 or 3 coats of this red right here. Now, it's about 10-15 minute dry time in between, so all in all, I probably had about, a little over a half hour in paint, dry time, wait time, and all that. And then once it was all painted up, I had to figure out how to get this spray foam contraption off of that drywall, because I don't know if you know, but spray foam sticks to drywall quite well. The only option I figured I had was to take a handsaw and try to saw this thing off. It was quite awkward trying to do this on a table. Couldn't get very much leverage. Tried it from both sides, the top, the bottom, moved this thing all around, tried to lock it in place. It was just being a pain. So what I ended up doing was putting it on the floor, and I used a downward motion, and I sawed it off, and it came off quite well that way, and the head fell to the floor, and we were ready to go. Here's what we're looking like. Now, I taped off the eyeballs. That way, when I put this thing through the dip tank, those eyeballs don't create like an air pocket and cause a disruption in the film. So the next thing I had to do was get some film laid out. I had some water droplet film I thought would look really cool over this red paint. So I got my film all laid out on the table, rolled it out. Have to select a size. It's going to be the right size. It's going to cover that whole thing we made. So basically, what I take in mind is if I was going to wrap that thing like I was going to gift it to somebody, I need enough film to wrap the entire thing. That's what I want to put down onto the water. Now, we do use an extra amount of film when we're dipping, and that just allows room for error, because you get this thing down on the water and sometimes you get air bubbles. Maybe you got debris under there and you just need to dip in a different spot, and having a big enough piece of film will allow for you to have room for error when you're laying this film down on the water. And it'll give you a couple good spots to start your dip from. Now that we got our film all cut out, we can transfer it over onto the dip tank. And what we're doing here is we're getting it down onto the water. Now, the plastic side that this paint is sitting on is going down onto the water, and it's going to sit on the water for about 2 minutes. The water temperature is around 92 degrees. That is going to start to evaporate the bottom of that plastic, and then we hit it with this activator right here, and our graphics will just be floating on top of the water. Now, I have them locked in pretty good. They're not going anywhere. They're not going to spread out too far on me. But you can see that film moving across the water a little bit. Now, what I want to do is dip this piece on through. I'm pushing at a downward motion and a little bit forward as I go. This thing is pretty buoyant. Put a little pressure on it, and we give it a little swoosh under here, and that kind of just washes off a little bit of gunk. And then we pull it out, and we're looking pretty good. All those droplets amazingly filled in all those cracks and crevices. I was pretty impressed. It actually bonded really well to this foam piece. And the next thing I decided to do was we wanted to give old boy some real eyeballs. So I got some eyeballs. I happened to have them laying around, and put some hot glue on them and went to town on giving old boy some sight. So once I got these things in place, they took about, maybe 5 minutes to dry. Actually, they were pretty on there right when I put them down. That hot glue works pretty instantly. So I got two eyeballs in there. And once I did that, I decided that's a beautiful thing right there. That's a beautiful monster head. I don't know what to call it. I could use some help. I've had some comments. Old boy's looking like a couple characters they've seen in some video games. But yeah, let me take it outside and show you what we're looking like. I tried to choose this little spooky cabin in the background to give it just that extra oomph of creepiness. How are y'all finding this thing? Is it creepy? Do you like it? Next time I'm going to have to go through the whole process of me actually making whatever I make with the spray foam. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe.